This video covers everything we did today on Tuesday, December 14th in 8th grade honors math. Our learning target today is I can calculate positive and negative slopes given 2 points on the line. I'm going to have you start on slide 2 of Class Kick. If you're absent, you can go ahead and skip 10.1, and I'm going to have you jump straight to 10.2. 10.2 says, plot the points 111 and 82 and use a ruler to draw the line that passes through them. Then in question 2, tell me whether you expect the slope of the line to be positive or negative, and in part 3, calculate the slope of the line. Please pause this video and complete 10.2. Your points in line should look something like this. We have 111, and we have 82. And we want to draw a line directly through those points. Now, notice that the line is moving downward. We've often seen lines that are moving in the other direction. And by the other direction, I mean a line that might look something more like this, a positive slope. But in this case, we know that the slope is negative because the graph is downward facing. Now, aside from the direction of the line, another way that we can tell that the slope is negative is by investigating the rise over run. For example, when I move a space to the right, instead of moving a given number of spaces up, I am moving a given number of spaces down. And so I know that my slope is negative because for every given number of spaces side to side, I am moving downwards instead of up. I can calculate the slope of the line with a slope triangle, just like I would for a positive slope. I'm going to go ahead and draw a slope triangle from the 2 points I plotted because I know the coordinates of those points. I'll put my 2 lines, create my slope triangle. On the x-axis, it moves from positive 1 to positive 8, and so it has a width, the slope triangle has a width of 7, and a height of 2 to 11, which is 9. Now, of course, we know that this is negative rise over run, so negative 9 over 7 is our slope. Now, one thing we focused on today in class is that you can calculate the slope of the line without drawing a slope triangle. I know that the coordinates of this point here are 8, 2, and the coordinates of the other point that we drew were 1, 11. And so instead of drawing the slope triangle, I could have simply found the distance between the x-coordinates and the y-coordinates like this. The x-coordinate of the first point is 11, and I misspoke. I said the x-coordinate. The y-coordinate of the first point is 11, and the y-coordinate of the second point is 2, and so we can subtract 11 minus 2. Now our x-coordinates are 1 and 8, and so we would subtract 1 minus 8. Notice how I followed the order of the coordinate pairs. So you can see here that 1 and 11 are our first coordinates, and 8 and 2 are our second coordinates. Now I know that 11 minus 2 is 9, and 1 minus 8 is negative 7, and so I end up with negative 9 over 7. And I can find the slope simply by subtracting an x-coordinate I know minus another x-coordinate I know and a y-coordinate I know minus another y-coordinate I know. Remember that it's always rise over run. So these are our y values up top, and these are our x values on the bottom. Vertical over horizontal or rise over run. On slide 3, you'll see the end of 10.2, which is Are you ready for more? And this is a good opportunity for us to practice the formula that I just explained. For example, I know that I can subtract the y coordinates, 14 minus 2, over the x coordinates, 11 minus k. We don't know what that x coordinate k is, and the slope is going to have to be 2. And so if I'm trying to figure out what k is, I can say to myself, okay, 14 minus 2 is 12. And 12 over what equals 2? Well, I know that 11 minus k needs to be 6 in order for 14 minus 2 over something to be equal to 2. Has to be 6. And so 11 minus 5 is what is equal to 6. And so I know that k equals 5 for question 1. And I want you to go ahead and pause this video, and I want you to try 2 and 4 on your own. You can skip 3 and 5, but I want you to go ahead and try 2 and 4. Pause this video. Okay, you should have given 2 and 4 a try, and we're going to go ahead and move on to our last activity, which is 10.3. These directions here won't matter so much because I've adapted the activity for you to complete on your own. And so if you just go ahead and skip to slide 5, you will see the adapted version of the activity. So on slide 5, I gave you some directions about how I want you to graph a set of lines. And so you can see that on the first yellow box, it says to draw a line with a slope of 1/4 and a y-intercept of 5, and then a bunch of other iterations of that, right? Like a slope of negative 1/4 and a y-intercept of 5, a slope of negative 1/4 and a y-intercept of negative 5. And I want you to just go ahead and plot those lines on the graph. So for example, a line with a slope of 1/4 and a y-intercept of 5. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I know that my y-intercept is 5, and so the line is going to go through this point here on the y-axis, and my slope is 1/4, which means my rise over my run needs to be 1 rise for a run of 4. And so I can kind of start just going up 1 over 4, because it's a rise of 1 and a run of 4, and continue that pattern until I have enough points where I'm able to draw a line directly through the points. Looks something like that, right? And you're going to do that for each of the lines that are listed there in the yellow box on the left, and then you also have the yellow box on the right. And so you're going to end up with a total of 8 lines plotted. You'll have 4 lines under design 1 and 4 lines under design 2. You can pause this video to do slide 5. When you're finished with slide 5, I'm going to give you directions for the rest of class. Okay, so you should have done slide 5 on your own by now. Let's take a quick look at slide 4 before we wrap up today's lesson. Slide 4 is a lesson summary, and it shows us one way that we would be able to calculate the slope. We learned earlier that one way to find the slope of a line is by drawing a slope triangle, and that's what we see here. But now we have a new way, which is that we can simply calculate the coordinates of a point, the difference between the y coordinates and the x coordinates. Here's how that works. If I know that A has a coordinate of 1, 5 and B has a coordinate of 5, 3, I can simply subtract. The y value change is 3 minus 5 is negative 2, and the x value change is 5 minus 1 is 4, which gives us a slope of negative 2 over 4. And that strategy will always work. Your last step in Class Kick today is to complete slide 6, calculating slopes. You need to find the slope of the line that goes through each of these points. If you get stuck on the cooldown at any point, I suggest coming back to slide 4, which gives you the notes on how to calculate those slopes. When you're finished, make sure you go back to today's folder in Schoology to complete tonight's homework. And as always, send me an email if you have any questions.